Hello, and welcome back to The Room Went Dark, the True Crime in Film. And this is episode 2, part 2. So, this is a two-parter. So, go back and listen to episode 1, Psycho. And here we discuss film, TV, and documentaries that are all based on real events. I'm your host, Lorraine, and I'm joined by Amalie. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hi there. Hello there.
Did you watch this one over breakfast?
I didn't. I watched this in the evening like a sensible human
It's a more
being.
evening film than a breakfast film, unlike Psycho.
Psycho's all right though. You can watch Psycho while eating breakfast. It's
Yeah, but not
not
this
too
one.
terrible. No, no,
It's
no.
definitely not.
Absolutely not.
No, and that film that we're saying is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which apparently, according to Amalie, chainsaw is 2 words, not one.
2 words. You got to remember to put that in correctly when you put it up on
Well,
the
it's
podcast.
1 word. I'm using 1 word.
People
Um,
are going to be very upset about it.
it was directed by Tobe Hooper or Toby Hooper, however you want to pronounce it, in 1974. And he also wrote the screenplay along with Kim Henknell. And I'm not usually bringing in money and stuff, but this one had a budget of around $60,000, said to have cost maybe up to $300,000. But the only reason I'm bringing it up is because it made over $30 million. So that's a lot, and not too
Wow.
bad that they went over budget if they made that much money. But also because this has turned into a massive franchise. So it
Yeah.
has. And there's quite a few films. I think there's 9 films, and I know there was a fan one. So sometimes, the way people they take franchises like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th, and they make these fan made films. And some of
Mhm.
them are meant to be quite good. So I might check out some of those. The franchise, though, has gone on to make over $215 million. So from that 60 or $300,000, it has made a
Wow.
lot of money. So, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a story about a group of young adults, 2 siblings, Sally played by Marilyn Burns, Franklin played by Paul A. Parton, and 3 friends, Jerry played by Alan DeZinger, Kurt played by William Vell, and Pam played by Terry McMinn. They all come face to face with this cannibalistic family of psychopaths, and the siblings go to visit their grandfather's grave, and then they all continue on to the old family home, but they go off the beaten track and come face to face then with this family. With this one, we wanted to go with Gein more for the um, killings than the mother relationship, because there's not really that vibe in here. But if you want to hear a little bit about who Ed Gein was, we talk about that in Psycho. So I'm not going to repeat all of that again. So go back and have a listen if you haven't. So what did you think of this? Was this your first time?
What with Texas, watching
Yeah.
Texas?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. No,
Okay, good.
again, it was one of those that I probably watched in my late teens. I think I have only watched it once though, surprisingly, and I
Okay.
haven't really watched many of the other. Like I've not seen Leatherface or anything. So
Yeah.
but I'm now gonna have a look and have a look around and see what's on the various platforms
To
on
watch the
uh,
others.
on our PS5. Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of interested.
The remake one with Jessica Biel, I think that was like 2003 or something. That's actually quite a good one.
Yeah, because there's a
Yeah.
bunch of them that are
Yeah.
available. Apple
Yeah.
TV currently is showing quite a few of them. I think is it Netflix or is it Channel 5 maybe?
Yeah. Yeah. A few of them
I
have
one of those
various ones.
three.
Various ones out there. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is a great film. I love this film. It's a lot. It's very loud. A lot of
Yes.
screaming, which I
Yeah.
find a bit, but you know, probably be as loud as that myself if I was in this situation. But I think with this one, with regards to like, if we want to go back to Gein, because he was apparently a big influence over this, it would be more for skin, really, wouldn't it? And
First,
murder,
just murder, murder,
skin and
murder.
murder,
Again.
um, because a lot of that happens in this film in the most barbaric ways.
Yeah.
I mean, like we were talking about Psycho and how kind of they didn't show much of that kind of scare of it. But I think in this, with obviously the isolation, the fact that this family is batshit crazy, and you've got someone like Leatherface, who was a very big character wearing masks,
Yeah.
and he's very strong. So when he grabs people to kill, like they're not going to get away from him if
No.
he's got hold of them. So
Oh, I think I'd freeze. I'd just be frozen if he came at me at any point. I don't think I'd even bother trying to get away.
Yeah,
Not if you had a chainsaw. You would though, wouldn't you? You would just freeze in place and just be like,
I'd like
well,
to think not.
accept your defeat. I don't know. I
I'd
don't
like
think
to
so.
think,
I think
screw
I
this, I'm off.
yeah, well, I'd like
Because I
to
don't
think
think
I
him
would.
run fast. Could he run fast after you?
That's a good point. I think well,
He
actually, I
might.
don't know.
I think a couple of those could have. Because I think what
Quicker.
strikes me about this is, and I mean, this is 70s, so obviously, because this takes place, yeah, in August 73.
Yeah,
Um, and it was a time where, people hitchhiked because they pick up the hitchhiker at the start, who's a very bizarre man, but it turns out he's part of that family.
yes.
But also, going up to someone's door like that, because we get that great shot, don't we, of that girl walking up, kind of looking up at this like house that's
Yeah.
quite scary and looks a lot bigger than it is from the way that they shoot it. But the, it's kind of, we wouldn't be that quick to go up on our own, like especially because our fella goes in first, doesn't he?
Kirk.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, he goes in first, and yeah, he's whack on the head. You were done. Like, do you know what I mean? That was
Straight
very
away. It was
quick of
so
how he
quick.
took him. But it's it's the fact that they walked into the house, which you wouldn't do. If no one answered the door, you just wouldn't go in. But then when
No.
she went in, um, and kind of found, I don't think she ran out, left with any urgency until it was kind of too late. So
Yeah.
don't mean to victim blame here, but
It's your own damn fault.
you should have got out of there. Um, so yeah, from that start, we kind of know that we're dealing with something, really bad here.
Yeah, because
You
again,
know,
it's a really slow build, a lot like Psycho.
yeah,
It's this kind of very slow build. You've got a group of friends, two of which are brother and sister,
yeah,
and they are on a road trip. They're in this camper van. They pick up this hitchhiker who, is a bit of an oddball. He ends up like cutting
mm,
his own hand open and uh just essentially getting a little bit threatening, and they kick him out.
yeah,
And on they go. And they pull into, I think, a gas station, isn't it? They pull into a gas
yeah.
station, which is again the other guy. The gas station
Mm.
owner ends up being the part of the family as well, which they don't know at that point. Um, and then it all just kind of descends into madness from there, I think. So Pam and Kirk wander off on their own.
Yeah, they do the typical cliche of
Yeah.
splitting up.
Yeah, because they all kind of look around the old house, don't they? So I think
Yeah,
this is like the brother and sister's grandparents' old house. Because they go initially to, I think that was also a slight nod to Gein as well at the beginning with the cemetery
yeah.
where the graves had been robbed and they'd basically driven up there, I think, to um see if their granddad's grave was okay. And then
But
they
you
stop at the derelict house.
but you got to think to yourself as well, is like, if that's, I mean, I can't remember like the time frame of when the grandparents were there and all that kind of stuff, but
Mm.
um like, would they not have been known as a family to stay away from? Because small town
Yeah,
mentality, like, don't go near that house because, they're not right. Like,
that
do you
is
know
a
what I
very good
mean?
point. Yeah. It's just, yeah, because they talk about being in that house when they were kids. Because, oh
Yeah.
God, whatever
Yeah.
her name is, Sally, isn't it? I think she
Yeah.
talks about the wallpaper at
Mm.
one point. So they'd obviously been there as children, but perhaps maybe they didn't have like I mean, this is all backstory. It's a film, isn't it? It's made
Yeah.
up. But perhaps there wasn't a backstory. Perhaps the backstory is that they only visited them briefly,
Didn't want
every
to
now and
scare them.
then.
Yeah,
Maybe it was
with
across
tales.
country and they,
Yeah.
didn't visit that often. Um, but it had obviously gone to ruin this house completely because it was just derelict at this point. Um, yeah, and so, they're kind of just wandering around. Pam and Kirk wander off. Um, and I think they're looking for gas. No, what? Yeah, or something, aren't they? That's the bit that does.
Did
I'm
they get
confused.
tire blowout or something? Was it? I know now. I can't remember.
Maybe. No,
I
I
only
can't
watched
remember
this
now
the other
either.
day.
Yeah, same. But isn't that interesting? The fact that
Yeah,
you can sort of watch it
tiny
and then
details.
afterwards, the finer details that you just don't really remember because there's so much of it is just a massive jump scare.
Yeah,
Those are the bits that you remember. It's mostly just Sally just screaming her way around the place and
I
getting
know,
attacked
but I will say one
by
thing, and I
bushes.
know this isn't, the right thing to say, but I was never so glad for a character to be murdered than
Oh, I know. It's so
Franklin.
annoying. Like, come on.
Oh my God, he
Yeah.
was such a child. Like, when he'd be like doing those voices, and he like I don't
Oh,
get
I
me wrong.
see.
Obviously, I've never, he's watching his sister and all these young people kind of living this life, and you kind of get the impression he's been like, made to go along, but he's a very bitter, angry person who feels like life has really dealt him, a
Mm.
bad deck of cards, like, and but you've got no sympathy for him whatsoever. He's just vile. Like I just cannot warm to him. Like the others are just four, you know, kids basically, young adults off having a time. But he makes things, I think, very difficult by his attitude. He's really like aggressive and he's just not pleasant.
Yeah, they very much played on like the ableist viewpoint, haven't they?
Yeah.
The chap that's a wheelchair user and, really sat in his victimhood, which, I guess for some people that might be the case, but for the majority of people that are wheelchair users, I don't think
No.
that's their experience.
They
But
didn't, yeah, it
perhaps,
wasn't a good portrayal, like, but he
yeah,
just
well,
seemed very,
sure.
very bitter. And I found him like I hated the scenes that he was in because I just found him so irritating,
See,
you
now
know?
I thought you were talking about Sally and her like constant like 70s shrieking, the
Oh,
girly
that,
kind
yeah,
of
we'll get onto
screaming.
that when we get to that bit. But yeah, no, no,
Yeah, that I guess you kind of I'm assuming you're referring to the bit of, when they're in the derelict house and the other four have gone off because the other four are coupled up, aren't they?
well, it
You've
starts
got
off for
Pam and
me when
Kirk.
he goes off, he falls, that is, when he gets going for a wee and he loses the balance and goes down. It's
Oh
basically
yeah.
every minute of his existence that annoys me, to be honest with you.
Oh, poor guy.
But yeah, no, when he gets up, but like, I think he's quite mean to his sister as well. Like, that, especially that bit where she's pushing him through the woods and everything, and he's basically like, she's doing her best. And I just think that yeah. So when he gets killed, I'm just like, oh, thank God, shut him up.
Yeah, I guess so. There's that bit of the van, isn't there, where,
Yeah,
everyone's kind of gone missing and it's just just
him
the
and
two of
his,
them left,
yeah,
Sally and Franklin. And she wants to go off. She's like, "Can you give me
yeah,
the torch, the light, and
and he
I'm going to
won't.
go and
Yeah,
search them." And he refuses
yeah,
to go.
yeah.
And to me, that kind of, you know, over the top of this kind of slightly controlling, um,
Hmm.
I guess, difficult behavior, I think is actually just someone that's very scared. And he
Yeah,
definitely
could be.
didn't want her to go and for him to be sort of left there on his own, probably again, right? Because in the house he couldn't obviously climb the stairs with the rest of them and
Yeah,
have a look around. He was
yeah.
sort of
See,
stuck
that I
downstairs on
get.
his own.
That I get. Like, I get that you're not able to do so because obviously back then, I mean, even today, places aren't always wheelchair friendly, which is
Oh my God, no.
disgraceful.
They're absolutely not.
Um,
They're terrible.
it should
We're
be. It's
way
just,
behind with that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
exactly. So obviously back then it was, even worse. So I get the frustration that that's not what it is. I just think I get the feeling that even if he wasn't in a wheelchair, he'd be that person. I just think that's who he is, and that's the thing that
You've
he.
really got it in for him,
Oh,
haven't
I
you?
I I hated Franklin I hated him more than the cannibal family. Like, do you know what I mean? They were who they were. They were living their best life. This is who we are. We're not going to make excuses for it. Whereas he was just, oh, I couldn't stand him. Yeah, yeah. But we won't go on about him because otherwise this will be a whole episode of me just telling you how much I
I
hate
feel like there
Franklin.
could I feel like
It could happen. A little
there's enough
side
there that
episode.
could be an entire episode.
Why we hate Franklin, or why Lorraine hates Franklin. But
But yeah.
yeah, so at the house, I think kind of like obviously they go in and there's a lot of mess, isn't it? It's a very run down place.
Yeah.
And obviously the stuff that you see in the house, it's not really what you want to see. And that
This
weird
is
sliding door, um,
oh
where all
yeah,
the
the house
where all
with
the bad stuff
yeah, yeah,
happens. Um, and but with Leatherface, like as you kind of go through the film, you feel like because he apparently his IQ is like in the 60s. Ed Gein's I think was in like 105 or something, but his is meant to be around like 67, 68 or something. And he comes across as the bullied one in his house, which is interesting. Like when you meet
right.
Leatherface, yeah, he's this massive guy and he's scary. He's got all these different masks that he wears on his face and stuff like that. But when you see his family, he's actually being controlled by all of them. And I kind of feel like I do feel like he has the mind of a child, but I think he does what he does because he has to because of them. Whereas I think
Mm,
if he had a nice family like Geen, do you know what I mean? I think
sure.
that's where they do have that common thing is that they're both controlled by somebody else. Now, I get it, his mother didn't control him to kill people, but they're controlled and they're a product of their environment, of their being controlled and of their who they're around.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
that's who, like, I sometimes feel a bit sorry almost for Leatherface in this. Like he was handed
Yeah.
a raw deal, and that's the thing. You don't know who your parents are going to be.
Well, I think with anything in life, and I always say this when when anyone talks about, you know, anyone that they sort of they might look at and think, well, why do they do the things that they do?
Mm,
Is I just think, well, think about yourself. What would it take for you to get to that point that you would become that person?
yeah.
Like there has to be these multiple, steps
I
involved.
like do yeah, like what because I was actually chatting about this to someone yesterday about sorry to go a bit dark here, but like in war,
Yeah.
when men go off to war
Mm,
and they kill people. And I saw a post that this woman, I can't remember who it was, but it wasn't Hitler killing me or doing this. Well, don't get me wrong, he's played a part. It was the milkman, it was the postman, it was stuff like that. And I was like saying about how what is it that these guys go off and do that, but B makes them do it in such a brutal fashion. So when they torture people and rape people and do stuff just cause they can,
yeah.
so it's what is it that sends you or allows you? Is it always in you? And that's the thing that brings it out. So like, would I kill anyone? Well, if they got in between me and my child, yeah, I would.
There you go.
No doubt,
Exactly.
no doubt. But would I have I like I know we always say, God, I could kill you for this, but we don't want to. We're just mad. Do you know what I mean? But if it was between me and her and it's between you and her, yeah, you're going. I'll do my damnedest, but I
Yeah.
don't want to kill you. It's not like I'm there going, right, bring it on. But if I have to
But this is,
protect somebody, then
yeah.
yeah.
But this is my point is that, when people sort of they stand there and they sort of say, oh, they should get the death penalty. They've murdered this person. And you think, but anyone is capable of murder.
Mm,
You've absolutely just said that. If someone
yeah,
got between you, came
yeah,
at your daughter, you would absolutely 100%
yeah.
you take the rise out, And I think everybody pushed to it is capable, 100%, because
I do, yeah. It just
we are
depends
just
on what it
primitive
is.
beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just depends on what it is. But we as everyday normal people walking around, we don't do that. And it's not because I'm not going around not killing people because I'm just holding back on my urges.
Sure.
I don't want to do that. It's not something you know, I think I want to do or think, whatever way you want to put it, like I shouldn't do it really.
There
um
has to be hate towards other people, doesn't there? And I think that probably highly likely comes from being mistreated.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like we've all got our history ourselves and some people better than others.
Yeah.
But the history of Geen and the history of um like Leatherface,
Yeah.
like they're two people to me. Even like when we were talking about Eileen Warnes in our first episode, they're three people to me that they just didn't stand a chance. Now the
No, but if you
decisions
see violence,
yeah,
you can,
you can repeat violence and
it's the cumulative,
yeah.
aspect of it all, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. So like, I think with Geen, like to become a serial killer, technically you're supposed to kill, I think, three people. It's said that he killed two. Now they think he may have killed more. And I like
Mm,
wonder with him, like when you think of all these other big killers who've quite a lot of people, like why are we so focused? Why is the world so focused on this? Like, because his story is being told. So this Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Geen, like there's a film with your
mm.
man who played Jason in Friday the 13th. He does one. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a completely weird version. But there's so many versions. Like, but
Yeah,
why are we? Is it because it probably was the first time, wasn't it? This unsuspecting character person living in small town America in the 50s. How could this be going on your doorstep
sure.
and you
You
not
know what I
know?
think it is? It's not the murdering, it's the other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think
Because he
people,
didn't just,
because I was
yeah.
saying to you this earlier, before we started the episode, that I just don't feel that freaked out by Keen. I think because I can just look at his background,
Mm.
and obviously what he's done is like atrocious. And it's really important to, keep that there. But there's a really clear indication, again,
Maybe
like
that's it.
Warnos,
You have
of
an
how,
explanation.
yeah, and you can kind of understand the kind of the elements of the isolation, the mother, like all of these different things that would lead him to become this person. And I don't think it is necessarily the idea of, well, he murdered these two people because they look like his mother. Well, job done,
Mm.
we have an answer for that. The rest of it's the things like the
The
using the
skinning
human
and the
skin
bodies
and
and
making like, what was it, he made like a belt out of nipples and like
oh,
that's the yeah, see, there you go. I think that's the bit that everyone finds fascinating in the same way that people slow down for a car crash. Like they can't help but just be
yeah.
either utterly fascinated by the like horrificness of it.
Yeah. And I think like that's the case with here with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We're looking into more his childhood, how he was brought up, his mother, um, Leatherface's family, and that's the fascination. We're not focusing so much on the actual murders,
Yeah,
and I think that's what probably is, like you say, so fascinating about Geen is,
yeah,
but a lot of attention goes on him. And yeah, then these police obviously would have turned up to his home. And I think they found the mother, Bernice, I think she was found like hanging from her feet, and the other one's head was found.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like this, you can only imagine what it must be like for these police. Because a policeman obviously goes into in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they show up as well. I mean, they obviously get killed, but you can imagine as a policeman, especially in the 50s, in the 50s, walking into like, how do you process that? Like
I
you're
have
not
no
walking in
idea.
and there's a dead body on the floor and you're like, okay, this person was this, that they were shot and stuff like that. Like, how do you process that the guy, the weirdo, is making belts out of nipples?
I mean, I think the first thing I'd do is probably violently throw up outside if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Like, I just,
Yeah, but you
yeah,
but
there's
you
no way I'd
would.
cope very
You
well with walking into that.
you
Yeah,
would. But and I think like obviously a big difference here was Geen was on his own all the time, whereas this was very much a family, and it was almost like the killer of the family was the least threatening in the sense that it was the rest of them kind of being the puppet masters over this boy basically who
yeah,
is now a man but has still got the mentality of a boy. But I do when they get after they've he's chainsawed Franklin. Sorry, sucks to be you. After they've done that to Franklin, and then they bring Sally back, and I think that for me is where it really ramps up to, because they don't obviously
oh yeah,
kill her straight away like everyone does. I mean, I know um like one of the girls he puts on a hook, and then she's still alive in the freezer. So like, there's it's not instant, and which is
yeah.
which to me is more terrifying. I think like if you know you're gonna be dead, just get it over and done with, you know? But in that situation, I mean, does she think to herself, oh, there's a chance I could get out of this? But for Sally, like she's kept alive for a very long time. And the way they're almost like it's a weird dinner invitation, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because they roll out freaking Grandpa,
Oh my
who
God,
then like
Grandpa.
drinks her blood. Because
Yeah.
they have her over like a he
He's
drinks her
trying to hit
blood
her on the head.
initially. Yeah, and then at dinner they basically like hold her over a bucket and they're trying to get Grandpa to hold the hammer to hit her in
Yeah.
the head, who clearly isn't in a place to be able to be hitting people over the head because
No.
he's practically on the verge
Dead.
yeah, he's just like mummified
Yeah.
in some sense, which I guess is the kind of the look they were going for.
Yeah.
Um, and he does sort of succeed to kind of give her a whack in the head. Um, but yeah, it's just it is quite terrifying that scene though. Like if you
Yeah.
were, if you were to be, I imagine if I'd been watching that, in a cinema when it first came out,
Mm.
or or just even in a cinema when anyway, um, it is an intense scene because you think, oh God, what's going to happen? It like my immediate kind of, I don't know about you, but as like a female, just watching anything like that where you've got, one female and a pack of men, like
Yeah.
I'm always like, oh no, what's going to happen?
No,
This is a horror
exactly.
movie.
Well, because
Um,
you're kind of thinking what she's thinking in the sense that she's already witnessed other things happen,
yeah,
terrible things happen, and now she's tied to a chair
yeah,
with the people that have done these terrible things. Like so the like she does the screaming is a lot. Like watching this film is a lot. Like
yeah,
it does kind of, I mean, I know that sounds like a very selfish thing. Could you keep the screaming down? You know what I mean? But you know, I'll let her off. Um, so it is a lot. It's a very stressful scene to watch. I think the whole thing is
Mm,
quite stressful because you're obviously praying for her to get away. And, obviously we know the endings now and spoilers, but too bad it's 1974. But obviously the first time watching this, if you've never heard about the film, you don't know how it ends, you're gonna be wondering, is she a final girl? Do
yeah,
you know what I mean? Because she's one of the first when you think about it, one of the first
yeah,
final girls. So you don't know. Is that what the fact that they're keeping her for so long, what are they gonna do to her?
yeah,
And that's what she's thinking. So you're as a viewer, you're in the head of this woman as well, because you're like, what are they going to do to her? Because we've seen what they do.
yeah.
Why are they keeping her alive? Like, what are they going to do to her?
Yeah, what do they want? Yeah,
You
yeah.
know. Funny enough, I didn't get um sexual assault vibes. That wasn't what I was thinking when I was watching
No,
it.
no.
Which when you think about films from this time, I don't know, Spit on Your Grave and, Last House on the Left and all those things, you think that's where they tend to go, Deliverance. But with this, I never thought that. Not
No.
that I can ever recall thinking that.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
but I do like though that she does actually eventually get away. But even like that whole bit of her screaming, it's so chaotic and it's all over the place and your head is buzzing. Even when she runs away, because he's chasing her with this massive um chainsaw, and she's not running like in a straight line, she's like all over the place, he's all over the place, and then she's covered in blood and she's out on the road, and then she finally gets into the back of the van. And I kind of feel like with her, she's not like your final girls like you see with like Sydney Prescott and Scream, or Nancy in the Nightmare on Elm Street. She's kind of more, it feels more like someone else helped her be a final girl, whereas I feel like you became a final girl because you kicked ass. Whereas
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think she's necessarily that in this, but obviously she still survives something. She's just faster than him, basically.
Yeah,
She
she's got
outruns
that
him and
track
jumps on the
running at high
thing.
school.
Yeah. But then when
Yeah,
she's in
the
the
guy
back of
that
the
I
van,
feel sorry for is the trucker that she
oh,
initially
I
stops on
know.
the road because he's like, "Oh my God, let me help you." And
I
then he
know.
gets like,
Oh, yeah, then he gets it.
clobbered
Yeah.
and yeah. And
Yeah, I
then the
did feel
van
sorry for
comes
him.
along and she jumps in the back of the the van, like the just like a classic
And
American
she looks
truck thing, isn't it?
psychotic, doesn't she? With all that
Oh,
blood on her
the like
face.
hysterical
Yeah.
like laughter
Can't
as she
believe her luck.
realized that she's survived and she's
Yeah.
getting away. That
Yeah.
is a good
And him
end.
swinging around the chainsaw,
Yeah.
like in the, it's just like the whole, and like the madness of it. It's just, the whole thing is just madness. There's no control over anyone in that
See, I
film.
don't like I think this is an issue that I have
Mm.
with tech like watching Texas Chainsaw now is because so me and me and my partner, we go to a lot of like escape rooms and we tend to do a lot of like horror mazes and things like that around Halloween time.
Bring me.
You're more than welcome to come.
Thank you.
Like it's good fun. Um, but the amount of times that we have been chased by a man dressed up as to, chasing us with a chainsaw, we're just like, oh yeah, okay. So I think I was a little bit sort of again like desensitized to watching him kind of come at the screen with his
Bit of a
chainsaw.
weirdo,
Like,
aren't you?
I
Just someone getting
know,
cut with a
yeah.
chainsaw.
Nothing,
Not,
nothing
I've seen
weirds
it
me
all
out
before.
anymore. Well, this is it. I mean, I do also play like horror like video games like Phasmo and things like that. So I probably like
Yeah,
maybe I'm just a
no,
little bit too used to it now. But yeah,
the
I know what you mean. But yeah, that is kind of terrifying when you because you do think is she gonna get away? Like is this gonna
yeah. No, it is. It's
well
yeah.
ish?
And I'm glad like she does because I need someone to survive. Like when you watch films where no one does, while I like that because it's different, at the
Yeah.
same time I'm like, no, I need,
Need a happy
it's like the
ending.
American ending of Descent and the UK ending of Descent. They're very different. Like, do you know what I mean? The American one, you get what you want. You don't with the UK one. Um, so yeah, like with this, yeah, I was glad she got away. But they don't get caught. They go on to do more because there's a lot more films. Whereas luckily, Gein, he did get caught, placed into an
Yeah.
institution. But I didn't know this. I must have either never read it or forgot about it. But apparently he was tried, diagnosed as schizophrenic, sent to a psychiatric facility.
Mm.
And then in 1968, he was deemed sane for a trial for killing Bernice Worden, because it come out that apparently he did it for money, which I don't know if this is true, but then was sent back to the institution again.
Yeah, so he wasn't ever
So,
imprisoned for any of it. He
no,
just went back to the institution. It's really bizarre, isn't it? And
yeah,
he
yeah.
died
Died, yeah, of lung cancer on
yeah,
July 26th, 1984, and he was 77. Um, so he lived
yeah,
quite, which back then that's quite a long time. I know we live a
yeah.
bit longer now, but like back then,
It's a good old
um,
age. And I don't think there wasn't really there's nothing necessarily of him reported about his time in there. It wasn't like he kind of
no,
put. I
it's
think
just
actually he
such,
probably got the psychiatric support that he
yeah. Did he
needed.
ever kind of go, my mother
Mm.
was a lunatic? Like, did he ever do that? Like,
Good point. Yeah, do you know
you
what? That
know,
is interesting. I wonder if he ever got to a point where he'd realized that his upbringing was, or did he
messed
just sort
up.
of stay with, no, my mother's a saint and, you know,
Yeah, because you've got to wonder, haven't you? Like, do people, if with enough treatment and therapy or whatever, do they ever come out of such? Because obviously he was very extreme, very
yeah,
extreme. Um,
yeah,
it was there, and like I said, he had a IQ of about 107, 5, 6 or whatever, which is like kind of below average, really.
right.
It was kind of average, but so it's not like with Leatherface, who was very childlike. So you don't feel if that's your brain your whole life, trying to get a
Mm.
9-year old to understand certain things now, you just couldn't. Like they haven't got the brain power
Yeah,
for it. So with him, you could kind of think to yourself, no, there's no change in Leatherface. Like he is who he is now. His family have done that to him. Whereas with someone who's got that IQ, could they be turned to see? I don't think they'd ever be, you could go out in public again or, be out in the world But was it because obviously his life to me is a complete waste of a life from the moment he was born.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not even like he can go, oh, but when I was 18, I remember I had that relationship. You know, there's nothing there for him, like
Mm.
nothing. So when he was institutionalized, did he ever have a moment where he felt that his life was something other than everything before? Like, you know what I mean? It's weird that that's your whole life.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, let's say, don't say he didn't do anything. He made some pretty fancy belts and God
Yeah.
knows what else. What else did he make? He'd like
You made like
mounted human skulls on bedposts
well,
and
he used
like,
apparently bowls. Like he used to serve
yeah,
food in skulls, and he
yeah.
made like lampshades
It
and
covered
stuff
like
like that.
chairs and human skin,
Yeah.
all sorts.
I think that he basically went thinking, I mean, his brain was hijacked by his mother. And
I
I don't
think,
think,
yeah.
and maybe that's the whole thing with like Psycho. 10 years after, you know, she had gone, his brain was still hijacked by mother.
Well, of course.
So
I mean,
was
by that
that,
point, he's
you
alone.
know,
He doesn't have anyone left. Like
yeah,
he's literally on his own. He's been isolated his entire life
yeah.
up until then, anyway. And
So
he
I,
essentially, by the sounds of it, became a hermit. And
yeah,
because at that point, you're probably too frightened to take a step out into the world.
yeah,
Unlike the film where Norman is running the motel and
yeah. Talking to
seemingly
people like a
chatting
normal
to people
everyday
like a
Joe.
normal
Yeah.
human being.
Yeah.
I don't get a sense that Gein that was the reality. I think he stayed in his house and he didn't go out and he didn't speak to anyone and that was that.
He never had the
And
chance to
in those
socialize.
moments,
Mm.
yeah, was putting together, well, taking things apart and making new things. Yeah.
And as
It
well, I
is, I mean, it
suppose,
is terrifying. If you were to walk into that house at any point and see the things that he had
yeah,
I
done.
don't want to say created, but I guess, the things that he'd done with body parts. And there was like one I looked up, they were apparently like vulvas in a shoebox that
Yeah.
he'd kept. And you're just like, why? Why? It's
Yeah.
creepy.
But that was the house as well in this, in the film. Horrible. It was vile. It was like you wouldn't even if they
Yeah.
were lovely people, you wouldn't take a cup of tea. You know, you
Well,
wouldn't
no,
want to. You know,
not in
even if
well, the
they were
house in the
the
movie,
yeah,
absolutely
even if they were the
not.
nicest people in the world, you still wouldn't want to,
Oh, absolutely not.
you
No.
know,
Well,
you
because
wouldn't
you had like there were human
yeah,
remains on the floor and things like
yeah,
that. Like
yeah,
what got me actually was the chicken in the cage. Like,
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know why, but I was like, no, no, I'm out.
yeah.
I'm out of here. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just the whole thing, like nothing looked edible. Like I think a lot of that was down to probably the filming because apparently they were filming in the dead of heat and stuff like that, and the food was rotten, genuinely rotting and stuff like that. So
Oh,
it
well,
really
good for the
sir, you
film.
know, they it was very true true to life probably.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I know these things are like loosely based, but I do think there is a lot of these characters, of him in these characters. You know, I think you
Oh,
can
yeah.
take away a lot of it. Um,
But there's a lot to be created out of a
yeah,
character like Gein because
yeah,
because of his, the complexity
mm,
of his not even just his backstory, but the things that he has done as
yeah,
well. That I think that's why he keeps getting reused.
yeah,
The kind of that his story is being reused throughout film and documentaries because people just find him such an interesting and fascinating character and not necessarily in a good not in a good way. It's
yeah,
in this kind of, again, like I said, the slowing down for the car crash kind of thing, this kind of like, I do not understand how someone, why would anybody want to make, I don't know, like reupholster chairs
yeah,
with human skin, and it just seems so bizarre to the general normal person. I don't want to say normal because no one's really normal, are they? Let's be honest. But it just seems so out there and
it's such
so
a
it's
level, isn't
beyond
it?
oddball.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing.
So
Like, what gets you to that? Like, even if he was digging up the bodies. which is weird, obviously, or killing women because they reminded of him his mum and they what he wanted the body, like the way Dahmer would keep people in because he didn't want them to leave. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah,
Mm.
a bit of a weird way of going about it, but then what makes you make the couch out of their skin? That's that for me. Like, I get people. You can understand the killing because they remind you of your mother. You're trying to replace the mother or whatever it is, but but the lampshade, like what? Why do you need a lampshade made out of it? That's the thing that kind of the suit. Even I can understand him. I mean, I don't obviously get why you'd want to do that, but I can.
Kind of
You can
wanting to
see
become
his
his mother.
thinking. I can become my mother. I can have this skin on and stuff like that. But you have to be like, but when you start, yeah, doing upholstery, it just
Yeah.
it's like,
But
I,
that's where I wonder, I guess, okay, he might have had this kind of average, slightly below average,
yeah,
sort of
intellect,
IQ,
yeah,
but it seemed to me like he was bored. Like it
yeah.
was like it
Well,
became like
something to do.
a focus and like
Yeah.
almost like kind of like a special interest, you know?
God.
Well, it kind of is.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can describe it. He does have schizophrenia, so he's going to be neurodivergent. There's a possibility that special interests, us neurospicy people,
Yeah.
we do love a special interest.
I'm glad this is my
Um,
Zoom.
maybe seeing what you could do with human skin was his, I guess. But but he's again, I think I'm not to obviously empathize with him in any sense at all, but you can kind of see how this isolated, hermited human being has kind of ended up, where he was at the point of being
Yeah.
arrested.
No,
And
I
I mean, it's
think,
still,
yeah, I
yeah,
think at the end of the day,
terrifying.
with killers, no matter who they are, what they do, at the end of the day, they're killers. And, I'm
Yeah,
not gonna,
absolutely.
I don't sympathize with the killer. Like, and I have different opinions on different um serial killers or murders that happen. But some of them are a lot easier to like to understand, so you can simply go, oh my god, you disgusting human piece of shit, because you did this, because the reason's very straightforward.
Yeah.
I hated you. I'm, what I mean, whatever it happens to be. But with this, it's so hard to understand. So because it's hard to understand, and you look back at his childhood and you think of that poor boy, that plays into it, and that plays into it with the likes of Eileen Warnes. But when
Yeah.
you look at other people that their upbringing was kind of all right, nothing special, but it was all right. And they're just like, I just like killing women. I just like murdering
Well,
gay
that's
men.
the thing,
Just
right?
like,
So I have like a few police officers in my life that I
mm,
know of, and they
yeah,
always say that there's usually something, throughout their careers, everyone's got a thing that they
yeah,
really can't deal with.
hmm,
They'll come up against it at some point and they'll find it, you know, human skin like chairs
yeah,
can deal with. But actually the for me it is the need to um that kind of domination and power, uh, you know, the need for power over women, particularly in a sexual way, I find
mm,
really, really difficult,
yeah,
actually. Like it really does. I struggle with the sentiment of it. Probably, I imagine because I am a woman, but it
yeah.
does. There are certain serial killers that you just think,
Yeah,
oh,
I struggle with some of
you
them. Yeah,
yeah,
mine is kid. Like yeah, mine is kid stuff. Like
yeah, sure, yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
probably most
yeah,
people do.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, there are certain ones that, like I know I've mentioned him, Dennis Rader, but I struggle with him, because of what he did to one of the young girls. But,
Mm,
what he did to everyone, but especially what he did to this young girl. And but that's what you see. You get these seasoned police uh men and women going in, and they're just like, it destroys them, because you do think you've seen it all when it comes to what humans are capable of. You haven't. And
no,
unfortunately, we never will, which is, I don't want to see it all, but, your mind wanders and, it's out there. So, like, you look at families like this, it wouldn't be a stretch to go, there's probably someone out there. that's done. Look at what's it, Catherine Knight, the Australian killer who she got a guy, skinned him. The cop looked in, and there's the guy skinned up like a bloody.
Oh
Do you know
God.
what I mean? And it's just
Oh,
like, it's just
you
I
just
think
it does make you think why? Like why? What do you
yeah.
get from this?
But
Like
that
what's
maybe that's
this?
why we're talking
Yeah.
about it and we want to do stuff like this and why people do true
Yeah.
crime podcasts or stuff like that because like you said, like I can never understand the mentality of someone like Leatherface or the family or Ed Gein. I just can't. It's just
Yeah.
I just can't. I can talk about it and give my opinion stuff like that, but I can never fully grasp why someone does what they do. Even simple things, even
Yeah.
small little things like in the world. Like when you see someone being an asshole in town to someone unnecessarily, like why are you doing that?
What's the point?
So if that is,
Well,
I'm like, what would make you do that?
oh, it's
We
got
don't
to be
stand
an
a chance with this.
internal hate, hasn't it? But
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah. I think sometimes you just sort of, and I imagine that perhaps we'll come back to Geen at some point. Like, there's just so much
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
there that perhaps maybe much later on down the line we'll come back to it and
Yeah.
have a look at
See from a different point.
some different viewpoints. Yeah, but I have found with this, much in different way from Buenos in the sense that I was really quite intrigued by the making and the production around the film and the documentary rather than her
Yeah.
herself. Whereas
Yeah.
with Geen, I do find
It's
him
him.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In
Yeah.
just like a way that I'm just so I guess separated from like
Yeah.
I'm so far from thank goodness from wanting to ever do any of these things but it's
Here's a question. Out of Psycho and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, um, what one did you feel, was more like Keen? Or did you think equally?
oh
Or
good question. Oh, that's tricky.
I suppose they're so different though, aren't they? It's kind of hard to
Yeah, they are because they are different. They play on the
yeah.
different aspects of it, of the things that we know about him. I guess with Texas, you kind of you've got more of the meat hooks and the
Visuals. I feel
skin
like you've got more of a
mask.
visual of what he was
Yeah,
like.
it's a lot more
Yeah.
visual. It's much more, slasher horror kind of, or jump scare horror, I guess.
Yeah.
In terms of much more to do, like you said, with the killings and
Yeah.
it is just a flat out, um, yeah, kind of slash movie. But um, I guess whereas with Psycho, it feels again much more to do with the relationship with his mother,
Yeah.
and
The
I think
mental
maybe because
aspect of it. Yeah.
I watched it for
Yeah.
watched it for breakfast at breakfast this morning. I guess it's really sticking in my
Yeah.
mind, with the whole idea of mother and
Yeah.
this kind of alter sort of that he has for her. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I know I preferred Psycho, I'll be honest.
Okay.
I think because I do like a bit more of a psychological,
Yeah, I love a psychological
you know,
horror. Yeah.
horror rather than a just a flat out,
But as far as horror films go, like with the slasher thing, because obviously Leatherface is, he's a horror icon, isn't he? Like when you think of things like Ghostface and Krueger and stuff and
yeah.
Voorhees, you're like, he's up there with them and the Myers of the world. Like, do you know what I mean? That he's up there as one of them. So he's a different kind of horror icon, I think, to what Bates. But we do still class Bates as being a horror icon. I just don't think he's there in the same realm as
No, it's
those guys.
different. And I
You
don't
know?
think he doesn't actually, with Norman, he's not keen. In my
No,
opinion, he's not,
no.
because he is this person that, is quite
Yeah.
approachable and charming and I don't get a sense that Geen was anything like that in person.
And he's a human
Um,
being, whereas the others aren't human beings, so to speak, if you know what I
yeah,
mean.
that's
Like
a
when
good
you
point. It's
see them,
tricky,
you
isn't
don't,
it? I think they
because
both,
obviously Kruger's he's in dreams and stuff, but when you look at Leatherface, while he is a human being, and so is Michael Myers and stuff, you don't think of them as human beings,
no, yeah,
you know?
well, it's a character, isn't it? It's like a, I
Yeah.
don't know. It's it's a
Whereas,
villain in a nightmare, it is that
yeah.
kind of sort of, you almost don't see them as human-like.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas,
Whereas Gein was very, very much a human,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, Be it a strange one, but yeah.
yeah. But I think they were good choices, and I love both those movies. And like you said, we could look at. I will watch the monster thing. I'm not big. I like Ryan
Yeah.
Murphy's American Horror Story and stuff like that, but I'm not big into the the Dahmer and the Menendez brothers and that. I couldn't get into them.
Right.
But I will watch them for the purpose of this.
Yeah,
So
same, yeah.
yeah, but yeah. Anyway, our next one, we're going to do The Conjuring, aren't we?
We
So
are, yeah.
Amelie's going to kind of take the lead on that one because that's how we're going to
Sure.
kind of play it, taking the lead on each one. So we're going to do that for next Wednesday. So have a listen to
Hmm.
that. But if you want any behind the scenes stuff, we're on Instagram and TikTok as The Room Went Dark. You can email us on theroomwentdark@gmail.com if you've got any suggestions or any positive critique. And
Only positive.
yeah, only nice stuff. We don't want to, we want 5 stars, nice comments. We don't do negativity around here. There's enough of it in the content. Uh,
But like if they do have any
yeah,
suggestions, that
yeah, yeah.
bring them
Because
on,
they
yeah.
keep popping up more and more films, and some of them are going to be very loosely, like really loosely based, like when you do Scream or something, like very loosely based. But yeah, some of them would be probably a bit more dead on. But
Maybe we need to do like a quiz at the end where we
yeah.
quiz each other, like f 5 questions for each other on the film to see how well we were watching, how closely we were watching
Oh, I
it.
know, because some just, they go over your head,
Like,
don't
what's
they?
his name again?
Yeah. What did we watch? All right. Anyway, we will chat to you next week with The Conjuring. So yeah, we'll speak to you then. Bye.
Bye.